Hello, inner shifters, how you doing? Your host, Sophia here. Let's talk about decluttering your thoughts. Not in some sterile, productivity hack kind of way. I mean truly clearing out the mental cobwebs so you can hear yourself again. Like, really hear yourself. Because I don't know about you, but the inside of my head some days, it's a swirling storm of to-do lists. What ifs, memories, half-baked ideas, and a running commentary of everything I've forgotten or haven't figured out yet. It's no wonder we feel anxious, confused, or exhausted before breakfast. And this is where journaling comes in like a deep breath you didn't know you were holding. Now, I don't say this like journaling is a magical cure-all, but it is a tool. One with no judgment, no pressure, and no Wi-Fi signal. It's just you on a page, that's it. And sometimes, that's exactly what we need, a space with no filter, no shoulds, no expectations. Just a place to let the thoughts land, organize themselves, or even just exist outside your brain for a little while. I remember my friend Clara. Yes, our beloved Clara always finds her way into these moments. She started journaling when she was going through what she called her quarter-life unraveling. Everything felt heavy, work was overwhelming, relationships were strained. Her brain felt like a browser with 42 tabs open and no idea which one was playing music. I handed her a simple notebook and said, "Try writing it out, no rules, just see what comes." And at first, she rolled her eyes. "What am I supposed to write? Dear diary, I have a meltdown at 3 p.m. But she tried. And that night, her first entry was 4 words, "I don't feel okay." That was it, but something shifted in her. As she named it, she said it out loud on the page. That one tiny, shaky sentence was the start of everything else, because it made space for the truth to show up. There's a study I love from the University of Texas at Austin. Psychologist James Pennybaker found that expressive writing for just 15 minutes a day for 4 days significantly improved mental and physical health. Participants slept better, had fewer doctor visits, felt more in control. Their immune function even improved. Why? Because when you write your thoughts down, you're not just airing them out. You're making meaning, you're giving shape to the swirl. Think of your mind like a room. When it's cluttered with thoughts, emotions, half decisions, it's hard to move. But journaling, it's like picking up each item, holding it for a second, and deciding where it goes. Maybe you throw it out, maybe you shelve it, maybe you realize it never belonged to you in the first place. But suddenly, there's room again. And in that room, clarity begins to breathe. Mateo, you remember our practical, steady friend? He uses journaling a little differently. His entries often look more like bullet points. No poetry, no flowing paragraphs. Just, "I feel off today, not sure why, slept weird, deadline coming, missed lunch again." And that's enough. That pattern spotting, it led him to realize that skipping meals always tanked his mood. That he needed more breaks. That maybe some of his anxiety wasn't existential, but biological. When you write things down, you start to connect dots you didn't even know were floating. And here's what I love most about journaling: it doesn't ask for perfection. You can write "I'm stuck" 30 times in a row and it still counts. Because you're showing up. That's the real work, showing up for your own inner world with curiosity instead of criticism. There's even neuroscience behind why this helps. MRI studies show that when we put words to our emotions, literally label them on a page, it reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center. That labeling shifts the brain from reactive mode into reflective mode. It's like turning on a light in a dark hallway. You can finally see what you're dealing with. That's what happened with Nadia, a new mom juggling sleep deprivation, identity shifts, and the heavy mental load of caring for a tiny human. Her journal became her lifeline. "It's where I say the things I'm afraid to say out loud," she told me. "Where I write things I don't even realize I believe until I see them in ink." Her pages weren't polished. They were raw, honest, sometimes angry, sometimes grateful, but always real. And in those entries, she found her voice again, one page at a time. You don't need a fancy notebook. You don't need a 5-step journaling template or prompts or stickers unless you love those, then go wild. You just need something to write on and a willingness to tell the truth. Even if your truth today is, I feel numb. Even if it's, I don't know what to write that. I promise you, the wisdom comes after the honesty. Some people like to journal in the morning, to do what Julia Cameron calls morning pages, where you free write 3 stream of consciousness pages before you do anything else. Some prefer nighttime to reflect and decompress. Some tuck a pocket-sized notebook into their bag and scribble whenever anxiety strikes. There's no wrong way, this isn't school, there are no grades. And here's something beautiful, the more you write, the more you hear yourself. Not the anxious voice that sounds like a broken record. The clear, steady self who knows what you need. Who remembers your worth. That voice gets louder the more room you make for it. I once read a quote that said, "Journaling is like whispering to one's self and listening at the same time." Isn't that it, that sacred loop? That slow, gentle return to your center. So if your thoughts are feeling tangled, if you can't tell where the real you ends and the overwhelm begins, try this, pick up a pen. Sit somewhere quiet or even in the middle of chaos and just write. Start with I don't know what I'm doing, or today felt like too much, or I just need, let your hand go where it wants. Let the truth spill. And then read it back like you're hearing from a friend. Because you're hearing from you. Okay, my friend, this one is like turning on the lights in a room you didn't even know was dark. Clarifying emotions and patterns through journaling. If journaling gives your thoughts space to breathe, then this part is where your emotions start speaking clearly without needing to shout, without getting tangled in reaction. And this clarity, it's not just liberating, it's foundational. It changes how you move through the world. Now picture this, you're going through your day, right? Something small happens. Maybe someone's tone hits wrong, maybe you drop your coffee, maybe someone doesn't text back. And suddenly your chest is tight, your energy dips, your mind's spinning. We've all been there, but the real question is, what just happened? And that's what journaling helps you find out. It gives you the space to ask, why did that bother me so much? Or where have I felt this before? Or what is this emotion really trying to tell me? Clara, yes, our brave and blooming Clara, found this the day she sat down to write after a tough argument with her mom. At first it was just venting, hot and fast, she never listens. She always makes me feel small. But after a few pages, something shifted. She wrote, I think I'm not actually mad at her, I think I'm hurt. Because I wanted her to understand me. And maybe I didn't say what I really meant. And just like that, bam. The real emotion rose to the surface, hurt, not rage. A longing to be seen, not just a need to win the argument. Journaling doesn't change what happened. It changes your relationship to it. And with that shift comes healing. This process even has a name in psychology, affect labeling. Studies from UCLA and elsewhere have shown that simply naming an emotion, writing or saying, I feel sad instead of just feeling sadness, reduces activity in the amygdala, that fight or flight part of the brain, and increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is associated with reasoning and regulation. In translation, when you write how you feel, you're not just expressing it, you're soothing it. You're stepping into emotional leadership. And here, where it gets even more powerful when you do this regularly, when you look back on old entries, track the dots, connect the lines, you begin to see patterns. You start realizing, oh, every time I skip sleep, I spiral. Or I notice I get really anxious around that one coworker. Or even, wow, I tend to self-sabotage right before I finish something I care about. Those patterns are gold because once you see them, you can shift them. Mateo, our spreadsheet-hearted truth seeker, started journaling after tracking his anxiety for months. At first, it was data, woke up anxious, 6 out of 10. Drank coffee, no breakfast, ran to meetings. Over time, he saw it. The caffeine spike late meal overstimulated schedule equation. His anxiety wasn't random, it had ingredients. Once he figured that out, he didn't just feel better, he felt empowered. And the emotional clarity doesn't just help with hard feelings. It deepens the good ones too. Writing about joy, relief, awe, even simple contentment solidifies those experiences neurologically. Gratitude journaling has been studied extensively, and consistent practice has been linked with improved mood, reduced stress hormones, and increased dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. In short, journaling helps your nervous system hold on to what heals you and let go of what does. Think of it like this: when your emotions live only in your body, they can feel like quicksand. But when you name them, trace them, explore them, they become maps. And with maps, you can find your way home. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed or unclear lately, try this: open a blank page and write the words, "What am I really feeling right now?" Don't judge what comes next. Just stay curious. Your truth doesn't need to sound wise or poetic. It just needs to be honest. And if the answer changes halfway down the page, that's okay too. You're unfolding in real time. Oh, it's one of my favorites, because this is where journaling becomes less of a habit and more of a quiet, loving intervention. It's where we get into how journaling reduces anxiety and overwhelm, not just in theory, but viscerally. Because there's something powerful about giving the chaos in your head somewhere else to live for a while. Anxiety, as you probably know all too well, is a mental overclutter. It's a mind trying to prepare for every scenario, solve every unsolvable question, fix everything before anything even breaks. And the result, racing thoughts, a tight chest. That low-level hum of "I'm not okay" that seems to play on repeat even when nothing's technically wrong. And this is why journaling is more than writing. It's clearing the mental deck. It's making space for breath where panic used to sit. I'll tell you about Clara because she's always been our brave truth teller. During one of her more anxious seasons, job stress, insomnia, a breakup she didn't see coming, her thoughts wouldn't let her rest. So she started what she called her worry journal. Every night before bed, she'd pour her fears onto the page. Not because she had answers, just to give them form. What if I never feel okay again? What if I chose the wrong paths? What if I don't know who I am anymore? Writing them out didn't solve them, but it created distance, space. She said it was like watching a thunderstorm from inside a warm house. The thoughts were still there, but she wasn't being swept away by them. And over time, that became her anchor. This isn't just anecdotal. There's science here that backs it beautifully. A study published in Advances in Psychiatric Treatment found that expressive writing significantly reduces symptoms of anxiety and depression, especially when practiced consistently. Another study in behavior research and therapy had participants write about their deepest thoughts and feelings related to emotional challenges, and they experienced long-term reductions in anxiety. Their self-reports improved. Their clarity improved. Even their physical health markers trended better. The act of writing made it safe enough to feel again. And you know what's fascinating? It's not about writing well. In fact, messy, raw, even repetitive entries often work best. When Matteo went through a spike in work-related anxiety, sleepless nights, tight jaw, the whole thing, he started using a journaling timer. He'd set it for 10 minutes, write whatever came, no censoring, no grammar checks. And what he noticed was wild. He started recognizing the loop. A same fear, different day. And once he saw the loop, he could interrupt it. Journaling helped him name the pattern and then start changing it. That's the beauty of it, the page listens. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to filter. You can be angry, confused, numb, hopeful. You can contradict yourself, question everything, repeat, "I don't know what I'm doing" 30 times. And the paper still holds you without blinking. The more you write, the more your thoughts begin to slow down. That mental swirl, it untangles itself in ink. It's like you're transferring your worries from your brain to the page, and in doing so, making them less heavy. Less urgent, more manageable. That's the beginning of regulation. Some people use prompts to help. What's on my mind right now? Or what's the kindest thing I can tell myself today? Others just let the pen lead. There's no wrong way. The only important thing is honesty. Even if the honesty is, "I don't feel strong today," especially then. There's one last piece that I love. Journaling can help create a sense of closure at the end of a long day. Like tucking your thoughts into bed. Writing "Today was hard, but I'm still here" before you turn off the light, that's not just reflectives. That's reassurance, that's presence, that's telling your anxiety, "Thank you for trying to protect me, you can rest now." So if you've been carrying too much in your mind lately, I want to invite you, gently, lovingly, to try journaling tonight. Just for 10 minutes, no expectations, no performance. Just you, the page, and the possibility of a little more space inside your own heart. This is where journaling really starts to stretch your thinking, improving decision-making. And not in a spreadsheet overthinking way. I mean real, intuitive, grounded decision-making, the kind where your heart, head, and gut actually get a seat at the table. Let's be honest, modern life throws decisions at us like confetti. Some are little: what to wear, what to eat, what to watch. Others big: life path big. Should I take the job, end the relationship, move cities, pivot directions, and anxiety loves decisions. It clings to them like Velcro. Overanalyzing, second-guessing, spinning in circles until we're so paralyzed that we either act impulsively or not at all. But here's the quiet magic of journaling: it slows that storm. Not to silence your questions, but to sort them. To put them in your hands where you can see them, not just feel them. I'll give you an example. Clara, wise, warm, and wildly self-aware, once journaled her way through a career crossroads. She was burnt out, dreaming of something more creative, but terrified of letting go of the security she'd built. So she cracked open a fresh journal and wrote, "What would I do if I trusted myself?" And then she free-wrote both sides, fear on one page, longing on the next. The shift was gentle but radical. The decision didn't appear like a neon sign. But day by day, the fog thinned. Her truth got louder. She didn't just choose a new path, she understood why it mattered. That's the thing: journaling creates space not just to make a decision, but to make one that's aligned. There's science behind this, too. A study published in the journal Psychological Science found that writing about personal values before making a major decision led to more clarity, less regret, and even better outcomes later on. Why? Because writing forces us to step back, to see patterns, to access the reflective part of the brain instead of the reactive one. Matteo, ever the structured one, uses a decision journaling method that looks something like this: what's the choice I'm facing? What are the fears? What does logic say? What does my intuition say? What will matter in 10 years? And then, what does my gut already know? That last question usually pulls the truth forward like a tide. Even for smaller choices, like navigating a social situation, or setting a boundary, or choosing between two commitments, journaling invites us to explore not just what we're choosing, but why. It helps us separate people-pleasing from integrity, guilt from responsibility, habit from desire. And you know what else happens when you journal about decisions? You create a record. So when the fear voice creeps back in and says, "You're going to regret this," you can look back at the page and remind yourself, "I made this decision with care, with honesty, with all of me present." That kind of self-trust, it doesn't fade. It becomes your inner compass. So the next time you're in a swirl of overthinking, try sitting down and writing, not to find a perfect answer, but to meet yourself in the question. The answer usually arrives not as a roar, but as a whisper you've finally created space to hear. I thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and do all those lovely things you wonderful people do. I'll see you next time.